Welcome back. You're watching the Power Breakfast Show, and this morning we want to have a conversation that tends to be a bit emotional, and without going too much into it, I'm joined by Anne Nderi. She's the national coordinator of the 160 Girls Project. What is this project about? Well, it's a project that seeks to mobilize the law to secure concrete change for women and girls who currently experience some of the most appalling forms of violence in the world today, and more importantly, rape. A very good morning to you, Anne. Thank you so much for joining us. Now, we'll get into, you know, what 160 Girls Project is about, but I'd want to hear from you. In 2015, we had a high number of rape cases. Of course, this is a new year, but by your research, what are the statistics like?
Thank you very much. The numbers are still increasing, but there are very many attributes to that. One school of thought has been awareness has been carried out in massive ways, and also instilling a sense of confidence in the public that they need to bring out these cases. But without a doubt, the numbers are high, they are alarming, and we cannot normalize the situation anymore.
What do you mean we can't normalize the situation?
What I mean is that we need to take up the issue, say it is wrong, that we cannot allow it, whether it is a cultural issue, whether it is a legal mechanisms. We need to stand up and protect victims, especially those who are of young age, between 0 and 18 years, who are sadly the huge number of victims. So we need to say that we cannot accept it, and in addition to seeking medical assistance, we must use the law, which is there as a tool to ensure justice for these victims.
And what would you say, you know, because a lot of suspects tend to get away, you know, incidences of them being released after being in jail for 2 weeks, really. And why is this so, and why hasn't it been taken up fully and challenged?
That's an interesting point of view, and in the sense that what a lot of Kenyans need to realize is that the Constitution brought with it new amendments, and one of the issues is that currently every offense is bailable. That means that every suspect has a right to receive a bond or a bail. However, it is upon the communities and the victims, guardians and parents, to support the police to show a case why, for instance, a perpetrator should not be released from bail. What happens legally is you go to court, an application for bail is made by the accused person. However, it is at the court's discretion, and if there is sufficient ground, for example, that this perpetrator is a repeated offender or is likely to harm the life of the victim, it is upon the public to raise this awareness to the prosecution to be able to put forth a strong case to actually deny this kind of bail. And in certain instances, the bench, through the magistrates, have actually been able to find ground to deny a perpetrator bail or bond. And the flip side, how do you deal with a scenario where, yes, you know, knock on wood, I have been raped, yes, my family knows about it, we have been to court, then there's the issue of bail being given to the accused, and then we have the out-of-court settlement, you know, we see that happening a lot. Is that something that you and your organization are trying to change as well? Absolutely. I think the issue that we are currently contending with as a country, and we cannot ignore, is the issue of culture. And culture is what forms a lot of perceptions, a lot of stereotypes. For instance, you'll find that in a lot of communities, rape is still not defined as a serious offense. That you'll find if a girl is defiled or raped and she is within a certain age group, say 13 to 15, she is perceived to be of marriage age, and so the parents perhaps perceive that if we receive some form of compensation, could be dowry, that's enough. However, the sad thing is that you realize this girl is out of school. In most cases, she's perhaps expectant against her will, and this in turn affects the quality of life she will live, because she'll drop out of school, she's not able to be an empowered woman or a woman who can fend for her family, and this eventually leads to poverty. So I think what we need as a country to do is to protect our girls, and there's sufficient law in terms of ensuring girls go to school, they remain to school until 18, that it does not matter whether consent was implied or expressed.
Yes.
It is wrong.
It is wrong.
And the law is categorical on this, and we need to be able to support to enforce this.
There's the issue of evidence in such cases. You know, how long, or rather ideally, how should a victim handle this scenario? Because we've heard time and over again that if you are raped, please do not shy, go and report this, you know, to the police station. But then you also need to understand the mental aspect of the victim, where they're at that particular point, feeling very dirty, feeling very humiliated, and the first thing is, let me sit in the shower, or let me just have a, you know, hot bath or a cold bath to just clear myself, and then I'll report it. So my question then would be, is you know, not showering the only way we can get evidence when it comes to rape?
Absolutely not. It is the most straightforward, and I'll speak as a lawyer, that at times you want a case that has evidence beyond reasonable doubt.
Okay.
However, we are alive that, especially within our society, let me speak of the younger children, most parents or guardians discover the child has been defiled, for instance, when they end up being pregnant.
Yes.
And that means the evidence is gone. Does that mean that we cannot have a strong case? Absolutely not.
Okay.
And that is what we are trying to empower the public to be able to speak forth, to be able to see how best to have supportive evidence in terms of having the girl record statements to the police. And the National Police Service is very dedicated to this. They have been able to investigate cases even where we do not have instant evidence, as you're speaking of, in terms of being spot on and having that raw kind of evidence. Yes.
Let's talk about the issue of stigmatization. As much as there's been a lot of talk and a lot of you know, information about rape, and we've seen victims come up and talk about their experiences, in the hope that, you know, there will be a change of mindset and we'll see more people come out and talk, there's also the issue where I am blamed for being raped. You sit down and someone tells you, oh, it's because of how you were dressed, or it's because you were in the company of men, or it's because of, you know, ABCDFG. How do we deal with that if we want to decrease the number of rape incidences we hear year in, year out?
I think for me the starting point is definitely our Constitution. Our Constitution guarantees equal rights for both men and women, boys and girls, regardless of any situation. So it is upon us as a country to respect the law, to respect that every human being has a right. And so when you are defiled, which is a very sad thing for any person, and then you are re-stigmatized because then you are blamed, for us that is not of any use. It is of no point, it is of no essence. And so what we are calling upon the public is to remember that, as you have said, there is a psychosocial effect. When you speak about, as you've said, Kirigo, that a girl was dressed wrongly, we've had instances of babies as young as 1 year old being defiled. So what kind of wrong dressing were they in? So I think it's for us as a society to come up and protect everyone, to protect both boys and girls, because you're also seeing incidences of boys, to be keepers of each other and to say it is wrong. And in addition, which I must mention, that in a lot of communities, we know who the perpetrators are, but we do not want to report them. And this is one complaint that the police have raised, that it's only sufficient for them to be able to take a case forth. It is as good as them having the victims support them. Without that, it remains a prosecution's case. And so the community must stand up, whether it's a stepfather, a stepmother, or even a relative within the family. We must be able to protect victims by saying no to violence against children and report these cases regardless of who the perpetrator is.
Now let's talk about the 160 Girls Project. What is it about, and what's the rollout plan? Yes,
so the 160 Girls Project is an initiative of my organization called Equality Effect, which is a charity organization based in Canada, and we have been working in Kenya for the last 2 years. It is a collaboration between the National Police Service, the Kenya National Commission on Human Rights, and the organization. And what we are seeking to have is a tripartite collaboration between the law, the communities, and the police. So we have the 160 Girls decision, which was a hallmark decision delivered in 2012 that reinforced Articles 244 and 245 of the Constitution, that the police have a mandate to conduct proper, efficient, professional investigation. And so what we are working with the police is to empower the communities to bring forth the cases. The law is now available to reinforce and support victims of sexual violence, and in addition for communities to know that even as they report cases to the police, the police have a particular mandate to investigate, to carry out proper prosecution, which they are willing and have been doing in the past. So it is more of having everyone play their role in terms of their specific locations to ensure that a case is successful.
You've talked about working with the police and the Kenya National Human Rights Commission, and let's go to the police. Have you ensured that, you know, victims and especially the ladies are taken care of at the police stations? Because last year there was a report that came out, or rather a lady came out with her story on social media saying of how she was humiliated. She had been raped and went to the police station, you know, as she's trying to give out her story. And please note, she had been assigned a female police officer who ended up humiliating her father, you know, suggesting that maybe she, like we said, brought it upon herself. What were you doing there? You know, becoming a bit too aggressive with the person with the victim. What are the steps you've taken to ensure that this doesn't happen? Because like you've said, yes, there have been positive cases, but then it takes one bad case, one bad experience to then kill Kirigo's morale. That will I ever go to the police station? No. You saw what happened to so and so. Why should I bother?
Yes. Whilst I'm not a spokesperson for the National Police Service, yes, but I can attest, because I have been working very closely with them, and that the commitment is there, starting from the Office of the Inspector General of Police, that they are now, they do accept, just like any other profession, even with law, we have, sadly, at times lawyers who don't do the right thing. Yes. However, there has been massive in-house awareness and ensuring that these cases are reduced, that when you have wayward police officers who are not doing the right thing, there have been mechanisms within the National Police Service to deal with such officers. And so the message that we have been receiving, even through our collaboration with the National Police Service, is when the public has such cases, please, they should not hesitate to report them, and their hotline numbers, and with every police officer there must be a superior officer who's in charge of that particular officer. So they should not hesitate, and the National Police Service is more than willing to ensure that such cases are eliminated completely, and that there is sufficient trust and faith in the National Police Service, who are mandated to enforce the law in Kenya.
We've talked about, you know, getting the culprits, getting the suspects, and, you know, and making sure that they pay for what they've done. What is the 160 Girls Project going to do about, you know, the victims' mental state, their psychosocial state? You know, is there something you're doing, or? Yes.
So again, we are really excited about the collaboration, and the other aspect I did not mention is that we are incorporating technology. So we'll also be rolling out a 160 girls application, mobile application, which, in addition to empowering victims in terms of their law, also stipulates what they need to do in terms of seeking psychosocial support. So they'll be able to access this information through phones and through the internet. But in addition, we are in 4 pilot counties, that is Nairobi, Mombasa, Kakamega and Meru, and in each of these areas we are partnered with amazing grassroots organizations who, in addition to ensuring that the victims get their justice, are also at hand to give psychosocial support. They have trained social workers, they have trained psychologists, even in terms of child therapy, which I must outline is not very common in Kenya. We have more adult therapists but not child therapists, and so with the shelters that we have been partnered with, they are at hand to ensure that as the medical help is being sought, as the legal procedure is going on, the psychosocial support is going on. And I must mention again that sadly you'll find in a lot of justice systems globally, focus is on the accused person, is on the perpetrator, and we never remember about the victim. And so that's a default at times of the law. However, we are ensuring that as we ensure that justice is achieved, we do not forget about the victims. Again, we must remember, on average, a court case in Kenya, even globally, in terms of ensuring that you get to the judgment, might take even up to 6 months. So what happens to this victim over the 6 months? They are known to be the person who has a rape case, or a child who has to leave class to come and give evidence because she was defiled. So we must do that, and in addition, the home environment must be conducive to ensure that her reintegration or his reintegration is smooth, that they are not stigmatized because of having come out to speak and to seek justice.
Okay, and when do you want the project to roll out?
So we are launching this coming Monday, the 11th, and from there we'll have an aggressive 6 months of reaching out to the communities in our 4 pilot counties, as I've mentioned. And our hope is that out of the results we will get in these 4 pilot counties, then we'll be it's the worst thing that can happen, close to, but it's not the end of life. And so there's a procedure in terms of ensuring that once it happens, as guardians, as parents of the victims, we ensure the home environment, the community environment is conducive to their healing. And one of these things I'd like to emphasize is, for instance, ensuring a girl goes back to school. I think the worst thing is when it happens to a young girl and then she's even forced out of school, then that leads to hopelessness. But if you're able to ensure that she goes back to school, and teachers now through the Ministry of Education are also very supportive, they know how to assist the victims and they're not stigmatized in school, then slowly, life may never go back to how it was for the victim, but slowly they'll be able to heal and go back to a place where they're then able to pursue their dreams and their hopes in life.
All right. If anyone wants to get in touch with you and wants to participate, where can we, any social media platform?
Yes, so we'll be launching hashtag 160girlsandme on Instagram, on Twitter, on Facebook. So please look out for it.
On Monday.
On Monday.
All right, Ms. Anne, thank you so much for joining us this morning, and we wish you all the best as you embark on this very sensitive, very emotional, but fantastic project at the same time.
Thank
Wish you all the best. You're watching the Power Breakfast Show. Don't go too far. That went well.